In another set of fire good news, let's talk about WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, who pled guilty to avoid additional prison time. He's free now. He's going to be free.
Julian Assange free this morning after the U.S. effectively gave up on a...
This is a good news after fucking good news day, okay? It's pretty crazy. Julian Assange is free. The Dr. Disrespect stuff finally came out. Okay. And a lot of the grossest fucking losers online are basically revealing what their actual positions are on this matter and everything else. Okay. Obviously, part of the story that's really interesting is, bro, Assange was a scumbag. I don't give a shit, dude. You can't torture someone for being a fucking scumbag for 11 years or however long he's been unjustifiably imprisoned. What are you, crazy? Like, oh yeah, I didn't like him, so he deserved to be in fucking solitary confinement and have his human rights violated. He deserved the CIA openly talking about assassinating him.
Long effort to put him on trial for revealing secrets and...
Isn't Assange a rapist? No. As a matter of fact, that literally, that first of all, even if the answer to that is yes, okay, absolutely yes, then fucking charge him for that, okay? But secondly, the circumstances surrounding that, and by the way, for the reason, let me just get this out of the way. I don't like Julian Assange all that much either. I don't think he's like a super nice guy. He's a super cool guy. I think he's a little bit too much of a libertarian for my taste, obviously. Having said that, however, on the principle of defending freedom of speech and freedom of the press, I absolutely consider what the American government did to be completely unimaginably cruel, okay? Unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. Okay? As far as the sexual assault charges on Julian Assange, this happened specifically in the same timeline where they were looking to hit him on anything and everything they possibly could. Those charges were dropped, if I recall correctly. Okay? Those charges were not only dropped, but they never even personally fucking tried to prosecute him for that at all. They literally were only trying to nab him on treason and also directing people to hack into private servers or whatever the fuck. Julian Assange is obviously a pivotal figure for originally taking the leaked documentation from Hasanabi head friend of the show and American hero Chelsea Manning and releasing them on his website, Wikileaks. Okay? That was obviously clear documentation, including video footage of the American Defense Department, the American military, openly shooting and killing, like, I believe it was journalists and medical, like, healthcare professionals on the ground. Like, that was one of many. I'm now forgetting, but like there was so much that was happening at the time. WikiLeaks has been pretty fucking important as far as like leaked documentation. It's always been seen as like at least like a website that you can always rely on in terms of like looking at information that would never be information that would never ever in a million years be reported on by the American media. Okay. Yeah, they killed journalists and then the first responders that came to help, killing 13 total. Yeah. In July 12, 2007, a series of air-to-ground attacks were conducted by a team of two U.S. Apache helicopters in Al Amin Al Tania in New Baghdad during the Iraqi insurgency, which followed the invasion of Iraq. On April 5th, 2010, the attacks received worldwide coverage and controversy following the release of 39 minutes of classified gunsight footage by WikiLeaks. The video, which WikiLeaks titled Collateral Murder, showed the crew firing on a group of people and killing several of them, including two Reuters journalists. So remember, when Israel is doing Israel shit, like, you got to remember, you know, America's been doing Israel shit, okay? They learned from us. An anonymous U.S. military official confirmed the authenticity of the footage, which provoked global discussions on the legality and the morality of the attacks. In the first strike, the crews of two Apaches directed 30-millimeter cannon fire at a group of 10 Iraqi men, including some armed, standing less than 100 meters away from U.S. ground troops at a location where insurgents earlier that day had attacked an American Humvee with small arms fire. Among the group were two Iraqi war correspondents working for Reuters, Saeed Shamag and Namir Noor el-Din. 7 men, including Noor el-Din, were killed during the first strike. Shamag, who was injured, died in the second strike. They two-tapped him. The second strike, also using 30-millimeter rounds, was directed at a van whose driver, Saleh Matasher Tomal, drove by and helped the wounded Shamag. Both Shamag and Tomal were killed in the second strike, and 2 of Tomal's children were badly wounded. Okay? So I'm not going to show you the video for obvious reasons, but it was gross. It was incredibly violent. It was, just another fucking Tuesday. So now, having said that, this and many other leaks that came afterwards, Julian Assange and Wikileaks' interest in just like posting this information no matter what, without like consideration for America's, PR, was a major part of the reason as to why. Because remember, the American government arrested and imprisoned and tortured Chelsea Manning for years for taking this footage to journalists, including WikiLeaks. So you have to remember, like, they were not fucking around, okay? Anytime somebody talks about whistleblowers in this goddamn nation, or anytime someone talks about fucking free speech in this goddamn nation, freedom of the press in this goddamn nation, remember this WikiLeaks shit, okay? It's a lie. Bullshit. So, something to consider, okay?
Classified material. WikiLeaks says Assange left a British prison overnight and boarded a private plane.
Anyway, Democrat president, by the way, certainly. So after all of that, Assange was basically persecuted by the American government pretty openly. As a matter of fact, pretty openly. This happened to Edward Snowden as well, obviously, with the NSA leaks. As you guys know, Edward Snowden now lives in fucking Russia for that reason. The people that personally played a role in the investigative reporting that was conducted both before and after this now have become kind of weird. At least one of those individuals is Glenn Greenwald, as you guys know, who has done his own weird fuck shit since then. But that's besides the point. Ultimately, Assange had a litany of different charges. Here, let's take a look.
He's accepted a plea deal that would avoid any additional prison time. Charlie D'Agata is outside the prison where Assange has spent the past 5 years. Charlie, I think people are wondering how to think about this one this morning. Good morning to you.
Yeah, it's a tough call, Tony. So we are outside the Belmarsh prison where Julian Assange has literally left the building and the country. He's making his way to the West Pacific. He'll be touching down technically on U.S. soil. He'll make that guilty plea. It's understood the judge will accept that plea, and then he will be free to go home back to Australia.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange took his first steps toward freedom.
Oh, yeah. If you also recall, Chelsea Manning refused to give the U.S. government information about Assange and then was imprisoned again only a couple of years ago and thrown into solitary confinement again for refusing to incriminate Julian Assange.
Boarding a plane to the Northern Mariana Islands, where he's expected to plead guilty to 1 count of espionage, according to new court documents filed Monday.
Yeah, he's getting
to 1 count of espionage.
He's pleading guilty.
Northern Mariana
We're
Islands,
running back.
where he's
1 count of
expected to
espionage.
plead guilty to 1 count of espionage, according to new court documents filed Monday. The 52-year
And basically, He's pleading guilty to 1 count of espionage, and he's getting time served for his 5 years in the fucking UK.
Year-old has spent the last 5 years in a British prison. As the U.S. government sought his extradition to America, now those 62 months will count as time served for his crime. Assange faced 18 charges after Wikileaks published a series of leaks provided by U.S. Army intelligence analyst Chelsea Manning in 2010, including U.S. diplomatic cables and footage from a U.S. military helicopter allegedly showing Iraqi civilians.
Bro, what do you mean
killed
allegedly?
in Baghdad.
Light them all up. Come on, fire.
What do you mean allegedly,
the
bro?
former tech expert spent 7 years in refuge.
Motherfucker's still going with this allegedly shit. That's
London's
crazy.
Ecuadorian embassy.
Why did Trump not free him? Because he's a fucking massive piece of shit. Donald Trump, as a matter of fact, literally did things that even the Obama administration hadn't done because they were, at least to a certain degree, genuinely worried about the free speech implications that this would have if they were to criminally prosecute Julian Assange. To the degree that the Trump administration was willing to go, the distance that Trump administration was willing to go, even the fucking Obama administration, which was obviously awful in terms of like their own personal dealings with whistleblowers, even they were like, yeah, if we do this, we are opening up a massive precedent. And by the way, that's not my reporting on it. I believe at the time Jeremy Scahill reported on it. So just so you understand, like, even Barack, we tortured some folks, Obama was like, yeah, it might be a little bridge too far. We'll just keep, we'll keep him on the back burner. We'll keep torturing him. But like, if we just go through with the prosecution, which Donald Trump's administration did try to, there would be, this would open up the door to like just unimaginable consequences and a genuine violation of the First Amendment.
Good evening, London.
Before being locked up in a high-security British prison in 2019. He's faced numerous court appearances fighting extradition, citing his declining health.
It is something that is difficult for me.
In a 2015 interview, Assange spoke about the strain years of exile have had on him and his family.
In some ways, you must, if you believe in something and you want to see it occur, you have to pay a price.
His family now celebrating.
This period of our lives, I'm confident now, has come to an end.
This is the best deal for everyone at this point.
Former senior counterterrorism official Javed Ali.
From the U.S. side, it's probably not the most satisfying outcome, but at least at face value, they could say that Julian Assange was held accountable at some level.
It's so fucking gross, man. It's so fucking gross. Like, held accountable for what, dude? Posting fucking U.S. war crimes? That's crazy, okay? Posting U.S. war crimes. You have to understand. We're talking about the fact that he posted U.S. war crimes. Like, oh, we got him. That's why I don't fucking give a shit about his personally give a shit about his, like, him being kind of a dick. Who
now,
gives a
this
fuck?
decision is obviously controversial. If he was convicted, he could have been sentenced to up to 175 years behind bars. Nobody thought that was going to happen, but one thing he did not want was for any of that jail time to be served in the United States.
Julian Assange has finally been freed. Until yesterday, there was a strong possibility he would have died in prison, and this deal no doubt will anger some very powerful people. He shouldn't have had to plead any charges, but nonetheless, his liberation is a moment to celebrate. Not thanks to you. Where has your voice been in this epic struggle? I think all journalists have exposed themselves by whether or not they spoke up for Assange. This person is, I think, genuinely insane. There's a lot of like Julian Assange defenders that are just like weirdo QAnon people too, simultaneously, which I find really odd. You're talking to Jeremy fucking Scahill. Like, what do you mean? You think he hasn't vociferously offered coverage to this situation? Like, what? The argument is Assange was more of an active participant in procuring classified material. He didn't just receive a shoebox full of classified papers. Not saying I agree, but there is limits to journalism. Yeah, for the record, fuck that. Okay? That is crazy. That argument is crazy. That argument also is ridiculous. Now, the other part of this is that people were claiming that he was burning assets, which would put American agents' lives at stake. Okay? That's the other argument, that he was putting American agents' lives at stake because he wasn't properly censoring the documents or whatever the fuck. Once again, ultimately, that and also other civilians that could be impacted as well. That's what he was saying. That he was like exposing war criminals, exposing American State Department employees, even though he did do redactions. They just did not consider his redactions to be sufficient. Okay? Come on, war crimes? Bro, I just fucking literally showed you like the CBS Mornings coverage of the motherfucking American Apache helicopters lasering a bunch of random Iraqi civilians that were trying to help out a Reuters journalist. Like just straight marking them in fucking 4K. What the fuck do you mean? That is crazy. That's a motherfucking war crime, big dog. Among many other war crimes. They will say it's alleged, but, you know, it is what it is.
Gail?
All right, seems like he got what he wanted. Thank you, Charlie Daggett, reporting from London.